Hi everyone, I'm Danielle, editor of Western New York Weddings, and I'm here with planner extraordinaire Syrie of Social Maven. We know that wedding planning can be a lot, and we're here to help. Once a couple is engaged, they've had their moment, they've told their parents before it hits social media, and then they've shared with their networks. What comes next for a couple? What's the most important thing for them to tackle together?
Just have an honest conversation about your financial comfort zone, what you want to spend on this wedding, what your priorities are, what your deal breakers are. Sometimes the things that you definitely don't want are the most important things to voice first. It's always a good idea to keep in mind that yes, things will change, but you need to have a good foundation from the beginning.
So really taking a moment to sit with each other and set an honest framework, kind of before you dive into all the fun, pretty details, is find out what you're comfortable with.
Yes, because pretty flowers are not gonna pay your mortgage. It's even more important to set that financial boundary from the beginning. And that way your answer can be, it's in the budget, don't worry about it.
So yeah, I like that, that's a good pro tip. I think it's interesting too, starting off wedding planning with probably one of the hardest conversations you're gonna have throughout married life is, money and expectation.
It's a conversation that envelopes a lot of things that are very important in the marriage journey when it relates to communication.
I'm curious, is there anything that you would recommend couples not do right out of the gate? Any rookie moves that as an expert you can kind of steer them clear of?
Yeah, do not decide your colors, what your tablecloth is gonna look like, your overall look, your aesthetic. Do not decide that right off the bat.
So what you're saying is resist the temptation to immediately fall down the Pinterest rabbit hole and instead sit down and have a heart-to-heart with your significant other.
Listen, I'm not gonna ask anyone for things that are impossible. The excitement of planning a wedding sets in quickly. You're gonna go on Pinterest, and that's fine, that's healthy, that's great. But do not be cemented on any sort of idea. So many things go into the look of an event, and those things are going to change throughout the planning process because some things that are a priority for you now might not be in a year. You don't have to know what you're doing. You don't have to know what you're doing. I do this for a living, and it took me years to figure it all out because there's a lot of moving parts and it changes all the time.
I talk to a lot of couples, and one of the things I hear most centers around what you do for a living, wedding planning. What would you tell couples who aren't familiar with what you do?
We sell you that curtain where you do not have to worry about anything that's happening behind the scenes. You don't have to worry about if your band is doing sound check. You don't have to worry about if the caterer is on time, if your flowers are set properly, if the tablecloth is ironed. We can work with you as much or as little as you'd like. But you should, as a rule of thumb, expect about 10 to 15% of your budget to go to your planner. And just this time savings alone that having a professional plan your wedding, just like we hire a professional to do all things in life, you should hire a professional to plan your wedding.
The day comes and you don't realize kind of all the moving parts and your attention is somewhere very different. And so, I like the idea of a planner because they can keep you from walking into the quicksand.
We remove the quicksand before you can even walk into it. Beautiful, logistically sound events don't just happen. It's a combination of a lot of hard work, a lot of logistical discussions, and a little bit of magic.
And all the while your couple just gets to enjoy their day.
While you drink mimosas and get your makeup done, or get a clean shave and put your tux on, we are downstairs making sure that everything is perfectly done for you.
Well, thank you so much, Syrie. I think that gives our couples a really good sense of kind of the very first step after you get engaged and you feel ready to dabble with wedding planning. Start with a really honest, safe conversation with your partner, set expectations, share what you want, what you don't want, and talk budget. And don't try to convince anybody just yet. Just lay it all out there so that you're on the same page and you've got healthy communication for the planning process ahead. Next up, getting into the fun parts, finding your shared vision together.